Well, he went on to D.C. to take part in a pro-Trump rally, and the next thing he knew, the FBI was knocking at his door. Joshua Feuerstein is the lead pastor at America's Church in Dallas, Texas. He says the FBI showed up on his doorstep after he spoke at a January 6th gathering, which erupted into violence outside the Capitol building. He's joining us live now to share his story here. Pastor, good to see you, and thank you so much for coming on.
Good morning.
This story's got a lot of attention here. I'll just jump into the FBI knocking on your door. No one wants that. What were your intentions when you went to the rally, and did you expect the FBI to be knocking on your door?
No, we actually went to the rally for one very, very intrinsic purpose, and that was to give voice to a lot of people across America who are frustrated in having an election stolen. And so I went, of course, on January 5th as one of the speakers there in Freedom Plaza, and I called to the carpet all of the cowardly congressmen, sissified senators that refused to stand with the president and stand with the American people. There were no calls to violence. Obviously, the crowd was upset, but there were no calls to violence. There was a call to coalesce around President Trump and to support him and to hopefully apply pressure to senators, or at least at the very least, give them the courage to know the American people were behind them so that they could stand up for what was right. And so I joined other pastors and preachers there who, too, have been visited by the FBI. And now we're learning, as of last night, that there are actually charges that are being considered by the AG there in D.C. against rally speakers. So they're coming after our First Amendment right. They came after me, deleted 3 million of my social media followers, and now they're trying to weaponize the FBI and send them out to preachers to hopefully castrate us and turn us into cowards so our pulpits will be silent.
Pastor, I'm curious to know, and I don't know if you're willing to share with me or not, but what sort of questions did the FBI want to ask you? What did they want to know from you?
Well, they wanted to know, a whole lot of details. And at this time, my attorney has suggested I don't get too much into the weeds with it. But I will say this. They continually try to bring up that on January 20th, that there's going to be these nationwide protests at capitals. And if I know of any, or if I've been invited to speak at any, or if I plan on inciting violence or inciting any of the American people to violence using social media and such, which is absolutely preposterous. And just allow me to say this. As one of the more sought-after speakers, along with a lot of my other colleagues for a lot of the political rallies, not one of us have been invited to a January 20th rally at any capital. There's no armed insurrection, which I do have to quickly point out. They continued to call this in the interview. They continued to refer to it as insurrection. And as I told them, I was actually doing media hits after the rally with President Trump, and was not actually at the Capitol until just before daybreak and stayed far across the street. I had a small child with me, and but they continue to call it insurrection and sedition. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, wait a minute. If you would have seen these people, none of them were armed, and I've never seen an unarmed insurrection. 99.9% of the people out there were good American people. They were not the KKK. They were not the Proud Boys or the alt-right. No, these were people that were out there for one specific reason, is they wanted their voice to be heard. And I asked the FBI, I said, let me just ask you a quick question. Did you go and interview the people that the Senate Hart building that was overtaken and overwhelmed by leftist feminazi and BLM supporters? Did you interview the people that overtook the Wisconsin Capitol? No one's calling that insurrection and sedition. Nancy Pelosi and many others called this democracy in action. So I think it's preposterous that they're now trying to weaponize the FBI to send them after preachers who simply stand for the American people.
And just to be clear, NewsMax doesn't have any evidence that the election was stolen, but the pastor is, again, sharing the reason why he's passionate and what he believes in and why he was out there that day. And I appreciate that, by the way, you sharing your thoughts on what happened with the FBI, too. I want to ask you about this next. The media trying to frame the chaos at the Capitol as a Christian coup. One journalist wrote this on Twitter. The evidence that January 6th was a Christian insurrection just grows and grows and grows. Combating this perverse version of the gospel has to be a top priority. It's not just heresy, it's an active threat of peace to the peace and security of the nation. What do you make of that as a pastor when you hear something like that?
Let me tell you who was out there, because I was actually out there at the rally. And you want to know who was there? It was Americans. There were Christians. There were Muslims. There were Buddhists. In fact, I literally saw buses and buses of Chinese immigrants that have come to America that were out there, and they were pleading with the American people, don't allow the CCP, the Communist China Party, to take over America, because they know that Joe Biden is bought. There were people of every kind, color, creed, ethnicity. There was everybody out there, black, white, Hispanic. It didn't matter. It was a melting pot of Americans who desire freedom and don't want to see, again, these are not NewsMax words, these are mine. They don't want to see a stolen election.
I'll leave it there. Pastor Joshua Feuerstein joining us live on the program. We appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much.
God bless you guys.
You too.